Welcome to another episode of Black Belts and Boardrooms. This is a show where we take leaders who have earned their stripes and who will share their disciplines behind the decisions they make and the teams they lead. My name is Amir Khawaja. I'm one of your co-hosts with my good friend here, Renard Henry. Say hello, Renard.
Hello to our listeners.
Well, in today's episode, I am very excited for a couple of reasons. One is we have a leader who not only was thrown into the thrusts of a real challenge, I mean global challenge, and then to then shine through and lead through that with example, with discipline, with character, and then to be able to come here today and tell us some of the lessons he learned. And I'm excited to introduce you today to our guest, Mr. Javed Khan. Javed, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, everybody.
Absolutely. And now, Javed, I'm just going to mention a couple of things about what you do today, but I'm more interested in what will follow next. So today you're the senior vice president. Basically, you lead all of operations for Regal Entertainment Group. And if I'm not mistaken, it's well over 400 locations, over
Yes,
50 states, right?
it's 44 states, just over 400 look.
400 locations. That's a lot of locations nonetheless. Yeah. So, Javed, just to get us started, tell us a little bit about yourself. You can take us as far back as you like. You can take us, in the middle. I'll leave it up to you. But you've got a long history in the industry of entertainment and movie theater specifically. So take us back and tell us a little bit about your origin story.
So I'll take you all the way back, but then skip the middle and then get to the theater. So I
Okay.
I came to the U.S. in 1988 for my college degree. I'm originally from Karachi, Pakistan. I came here, went to Oglethorpe University in Atlanta, and after graduation, the goal was to go back home and work there and be with my parents and family. And I decided, obviously, I got hooked to the U.S. and I decided I was gonna stay. I started with initially right after college, started with a dry cleaning business. Did that for a few years, and then in Olympics time in Atlanta, right around 1996, switched over to retail and got in with Levi Strauss and Company, and then uh, did that for a couple of years, and then moved to General Cinema. It was a theater, uh, brand new theater being built in Parkway Point, Atlanta, Georgia, and I went and applied there, and I became the assistant manager there for the theater. From there, I moved across the country with General Cinema all the way to New Jersey. Then in 2000, General Cinema got bought out by another company, and I moved to a smaller company called Consolidated Theaters in Cary, North Carolina. With them, we grew. When I joined them, we were around 17 buildings, and then I went with them for 8 years. We grew it to 31 buildings, and then in 2008, that company sold to Regal Cinemas. And so I came with Regal since then, and Regal is, been my world. The theater industry has been my world from the beginning. And with Regal, I did several different areas: New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, um, and then Knoxville. I came to Knoxville in 2011 as a district manager. Then in 2012, I was promoted to director for the Northern region. And then in 2018, became head of operations for Regal, and then SVP since last year. So yeah, it's been a great ride. I have an 18-year-old son who is at UT, doing business analytics. So we love being in Knoxville and him growing up here. So that's my journey for career-wise. I'm a big Braves fan, and obviously living in Atlanta for 10 years. Um, but yeah, so it's Braves, my family, and work. So
I love the UT connection. Go Longhorns. So, I'm trying to draw a big contrast here. So help me out. What does an assistant manager day to day look like? And then contrast that to what you do today.
So assistant manager day to day is essentially like any retail, right? You go to any quick restaurant or day to day restaurant even. It was running retail. So I ran a full shift. I was in charge of employees, mostly teenagers working under me. I opened, closed the building, did inventory, stock, greeted guests, trained employees. Um, and so that was where I started. And then, throughout, it's just been from there supervising an entire building and then entire district type. Today, I run the logistics of our operations day to day. Um, but I believe I'm only able to do that because I started there. I'm very fortunate that I've been in this industry for so long, and I've been through the levels because every decision I make, every thought process that I go through, everybody I collaborate with, my people that are in the theaters that are opening doors, ringing up registers, cleaning up bathrooms, cleaning up auditoriums, greeting our guests, smiling through the toughest times sometimes. We're open Christmas and we're open New Year's and we're open Thanksgiving. And um, the worst clientele comes on those days, those 3 days. And, because they're with their families. Um, they've had a lot to eat. They want to go out and do something fast. And Christmas Day is one of our busiest days. So obviously there's delays and things. And I I feel for my employees because they're working Christmas Day, they're working Thanksgiving Day, and every now and then they have to take the heat of a guest that's unhappy, right? So every decision I make is based on how does it impact my people out in the field. Not the 300 people that work in this building, to be honest. We have a support office of that size, but how does it impact the 16,000 employees that we have across the country? Um, so the stark contrast, it really isn't that far off to be fair, honor. It's because I can level it down to where I need the impact, right? I need the impact at the theaters. So yeah, the operational strategy and thinking outside of the box, coming up with new things to sell or coming up with new things uh, as a procedure. But the hard's always how does it impact our people and then our guests? Because without our people being happy and uh, not having obstacles, I can't have a journey from our guests that's the extraordinary experience that we want them to have when they come to our building.
No, that's good. I'm kind of curious, from your standpoint that you talk about experience, the experience that you're supposed to have. What is setting Regal apart from, say, your other theaters that you can go to across the U.S.? What's that separating factor that makes Regal, in a sense, better than another movie theater?
Our people, um, our investment in our people um, has been, very laser focused from the beginning, and it's been laser focused because the people that work around me that make things happen are people that are coming from the theater level, are people that understand what good training looks like, are people that have been through clunky processes over the years because they ran theaters, and now now meaning over the last 10 years, have tried to come up with better ideas, quick fixes, removing obstacles. How can we make it easy for our employees to enjoy the environment and what they do that directly will impact the guest experience? And I hear it a lot. I hear it a lot when I go to theaters is I'll go in and you see this usher who's like larger than life, right? They have a personality where you go in, they don't treat me as an SVP. They're like, hey, I got to talk to you. There's a couple of things that I think you can fix very quickly. And that's the environment we've created. Yeah, right. Whether it's an usher, whether it's an assistant manager, whether it's concessionist, they are up for the task to deal with us because we all talk to each other respectfully. We all talk to each other in one level. And that's what's made us successful as an operator. Um, obviously I go and secret shop a lot of theaters. And I have this rule or teaching out there that, if you're within 3 feet of a customer, you do not pass them, right? You engage, you help, whether if they're carrying popcorn bucket and they're dragging 3-year-old kids with them, offer to take the bucket, walk them to the auditorium, open the door so they can enter into the auditorium. It's these it's these little things that our people do on a day-to-day basis that make these big things look great, right? But if you don't pay attention to the little things, which is smiling, which is asking, how was your movie? Is it is there anything I can help you with? If you and I are sitting within 3 feet of each other or at the same place and I'm the owner of it, or you'll come to my house, right? What would I say to you? If you're in my house, I'm gonna say, what can I do for you? Are you enjoying your experience? Is there anything I can bring you? So the mentality, the mindset I try to push out there is people are coming to your house. Treat them like you want them in your house, right? Treat them that you want them and they're welcome and they should want to come back to your house because of the way you were treated, because of the way they were treated, because of how clean the house was, because how it smelled. It's the entire environment of the theater that we try to box in as a house. And my staff members are the owners of that house, right? That's what separates us to be um, very fair, Renard. I mean, it's I see it all the time. I push it. My team, I say I see it all the time, but my team, I have 27 district managers, 3 regional directors, 1 vice president, and they all know what we stand for because the conversation I'm having with you is a conversation I have with my regional directors every week. It's not just about KPI, right? It's not about just numbers. I can hit all that. I can hit all of that if I do the basics right of treating my people right so that they can treat our guests right.
I love that. I like that part where you say you want them to have that experience like they're at your home. For the most part, and I'll be honest, I haven't seen that before. Um, Going to the movie theaters. Usually you get the ticket, you might get your food, you go sit down and that's about it. But I love that key part where you say, "Hey, you see someone with some kids, etc. Hey, let me help you get to your seats. Let me carry this for you." And I think I'm sure that is a particular piece where people continue to come back because they feel like, "Hey, I'm coming to someone's house. They're gonna treat me right in order to have this experience, even if it's just an hour and a half or 2 hours, however
Yeah.
long that movie is."
And you can't make this up. I have gone to plenty of theaters where a customer will see me with 3 different managers walking around and they know that this person has to be from the support office because I don't see them regularly. They will walk up to me and they'll be like, "Hey, I just heard you were here from the cashier. You're one of the guys from the corporate office. I just want to tell you, Amanda here, she is excellent. Every time we come here, this is the kind of service we get." And you can't imagine. I mean, you can't imagine the kind of satisfaction you get when people tell you that because that's how I grew up. That's how my team grew up in the business. Is just focus on that. You know, this isn't a complicated business, to be honest. I People that I meet for the first time and they say, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" I say, "I scoop popcorn." Right? When I simplify it that way, that's my focus. That's my team's focus. Is let's focus on quality of our food. Let's focus on our people. Let's focus on our guests. So that keeps us kind of grounded. That yeah, it's a big business. You're right, Amir. You started off with it's a big scale, but I can simplify it and I can run it very well by simplifying.
Love that. I scoop popcorn for a living. Amir, I think that might have to be the title of this episode. I do. I love that. In the simplest form, I scoop popcorn for a living. It just means a lot in a sense. I'm kind of curious from your standpoint and just the movie industry. Of course, come in an age where, we used to have regular seating, now we have stadium seating, etc. We have Netflix, we have all these other avenues. Do you feel that's hurting the cinema business in any way far as the theaters are concerned? Do you feel like you're seeing less people, or are you still seeing about average of what happens now?
So, so historically, I'm glad you brought up, from stadium seating to or regular seating, slope seating to stadium seating. But, I've been in the industry since 1998, but I'm going to go far back into the 70s. Right? People thought that theaters would be dead after VHS. People thought theaters would be dead after DVDs. People thought theaters would be dead after good TV channels, even, when TV channels expanded from 5 to 335, right? But that's not what we're about, right? Theater experience is really about escapism. Theater experience is really about having a family together and going to a place where you can laugh together and you can sit together, not just with your family, but people around you, right? That actually become a family because you're in one auditorium with 200 seater. Yes, you can watch movie at Netflix and that's great. But every now and then people need to get out of the house and experience the most affordable entertainment, by the way, right? If you go together to a football game or to a baseball game, you can get all of those things, right? Why do you go to the baseball game? And as you know, baseball attendance in most stadiums are about 2.5 million people a year. That's a lot of people going to one stadium. And they do that because they want to spend time together, because they want to watch it not on the big screen, but they want to watch it on live, right? But they want to enjoy the hot dog. They want to enjoy the popcorn. They want to enjoy the funnel cakes. And they want to laugh with family and sit around people that they don't know, but still cheer with them. That's what theater experience is. So it's not going away. People have Netflix. It's not going away because people have big screen TVs. They still not a better sound system in the world than we have in auditoriums. I promise you, that is not out there. Okay, people can say, we all can say we have great sound system at home and all that, but when you're watching on a big screen with the best sound system and the biggest screen in the world you can find, right? Entire experience is why people go there. So have we had to pivot and add factions to our business to survive and keep going, and keep surviving and keep making a profit? Absolutely. You know, 20 years ago, you couldn't find beer or wine or anything more than popcorn, soda, and a candy, right? Now you have variations of food. You got hot dogs, you got pizza, you got nuggets, you got burgers, you got sandwiches, you have beer and wine offerings. Then in some theaters, we actually have separate bars where people can sit down and order expanded food, right? Finger food. You got chicken wings, nuggets, things like that. And then we have evolved into full restaurant business, right? We have a few theaters. Um, One is here in Knoxville. It's called Cinnabar, and it's literally you go in, you get your popcorn in the auditorium, you order all kinds of food from the auditorium. It's delivered to you. You're sitting in recliners with tables, and you're watching the movie. So the reason we have survived is we've changed with the times and evolved into entertainment centers rather than just a movie. I don't want people to come into our theaters and not just watch a 2.5 hour movie. I want them to come into our theaters and spend 3.5 hours, right? 4 hours. There's gaming. We've got games, games in huge lobbies. So we've evolved. That's how we've survived. And I think we'll continue to evolve. There's so many other ideas and things that we haven't even made a dent in yet, right? With technology and AI and everything, we can continue to make this experience a holistic experience and escape from home. Because look, I don't think when people say we're going to sit down, and I see it in my house, we're going to sit down and we're going to watch a movie. And when I'm sitting with my son and watching a movie, you know where his face is? His face is not on our 85-inch screen, right? his face is in his damn phone, right? So if I'm experiencing that, right, I'm sure everybody else is. And that's why the dads and moms every now and then, 3, 4, 5 times a year say, you know what? Let's all get out of the house. You can't easily say, let's all get out of the house and catch a baseball game or catch a football game or catch a hockey game. But you can easily say, let's everybody get out of the house and go to the movies.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that's why days like Christmas and Thanksgiving are one of our busiest days. Why? Because everybody's sick of the family around them. They're like, we need to go out and do something affordable, and just have fun out there rather than sitting at home and getting on each other's nerves.
you're telling the truth. When you putting that picture out there, you're telling the truth. When you're in a movie theater, you don't have the phone in your hand. The phone's on silent. It's in your pocket. You're 100% focused on what's going on right then and there. And you're right. When you're watching Netflix or something at the house, somebody's on the phone scrolling. No one's paying attention. So you're right. And I'll be honest. I'm one of those people who have been a fan of movies my entire life. You know, grew up going into the theaters. Still now, if it's a really good movie, me and my wife will leave the house, go to a movie theater, and actually watch it. So, I love the whole aspect of that. And going back to the change of what's happened with movie theaters over time. Like I said, we talked about certain seating, going to stadium, and now we're going into reclining. Your food's getting, you ask for a certain food, it gets delivered to you. When did what was the change of the science that said, okay, we're gonna have to make a pivot from the what we did previously until now?
I think this change started, the stadium stuff started in the late 90s, right? Because everybody had slope theaters and they went to the stadium. The visuals were better, the screen was better. The main shift in the industry in the technology years started happening around 2010. We started going from 35 millimeter reels, right? I don't know if you've seen a projection booth in the 80s and 90s. They used to be 35 millimeter reels, just like, photographs you take. It's almost like 2 meters wrapped around a whole um, wheel that went through pulleys and screen to show the movie. Then in the age of right around 2009, 8, 9 is when technology started converting everything into digital projectors. Then came the 2014, 2015, where people started changing seating to recliners. That was the first time, 2013 or so, when it really started taking off. Even Regal at that point, from 2014, 15 on, started doing about 30 theaters, recliners a year, right? At that time, we had over 500 theaters. So we had to go back and start renovating theaters at that pace of 30 to 35 a year. And then we got into, with recliners, to your point, things started slowing down because of all the um, streaming platforms and things like that. But that's when the bars came in and the half restaurant concepts came in, and beer and wine selling from the concession stand came in, gaming came in, just to actually keep up the pace and let people know that we're not just here for your 2.5 hours of movies, which you are doing at home at times with streaming, but we can provide you a full entertainment set. We can provide you an outing, where affordable outing where you can enjoy it with a family of any size.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big benefits of a movie theater because I feel it myself. Go to a sporting event, it's very expensive. You go to a movie theater,
Yeah,
you can take more people with you.
yeah.
The cost per person entertainment is much lower. So the social experience, Javed, is really what drives most of us to go to the movie theaters. But take us back to March 2020. We've got a global pandemic, and just overnight, over 400 locations shut down. Your revenue drops to zero. What do you do as an operator of movie theaters?
So we all know that time. I'll never forget it. It was March 17th, 2020. I was in California actually. I was visiting theaters there with the regional director, and at that time, Amir, we had 560 theaters, and we came back. I came back a day early because we started hearing about venues closing. We had a lot of restrictions in the north immediately, and right around the 17th or so, they started closing down theaters in the north because the county had started to require it. It was a Tuesday afternoon. We made the announcement that we're closing all theaters down. Um, and then obviously I was working with our team of regional directors, district managers to make sure all buildings are secured, let everybody know, we have a Regal Foundation and other charitable venues that we started putting together to say, hey, people are going to be furloughed for a while. These are the websites you can go for help with and things like that. That was, you know, thinking short term. But at that point, to be honest, I mean, who knew, right? We were thinking maybe a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at best. But it really started hitting us when, on the fourth week, I'm talking to 500 general managers that's when Zoom flourished, right? So now I'm talking to 500 general managers and, uh, you know, trying to walk them through the fact that, look, we know what's going on with the world. Regal is not going anywhere. We're in a good position financially at this time. That's the first month I'm talking about, right? We're in a good position financially at this time. People are furloughed. So we did not furlough at that time. We did not furlough our 560 general managers. Every general manager was still employed and they were still running buildings. Everybody here, except for all until manager level, were here in the support office, and people below them were furloughed. That went on for a month, 6 weeks, and then we started realizing, well, man, this is longer, right? So you're starting to sweat more. I remember talking to a whole group of people and saying, look, we don't know where this is going. And as you can imagine, the cash was depleting because we don't have any other business, right? This is what we live on. Our doors have to be open for us to continue to pay people. So there was a lot of talking about, hey, we're maybe 2 more weeks and things like that. Then the second month hit, and that's where we realized that this is going to go on for a long time. And there was always talk about hope. There was always, I used to get on the phone and 3 months into it, I used to get on the phone with general managers and I used to say, the fact that I am here having a conversation with you and we're talking about opening again and getting ready to open in a COVID situation, meaning the equipment we never had, right? You're talking about sanitizing equipment. You're talking about spacing people. Think about it. In an auditorium, how do you space people? So we had a directive from several inspectors and stuff that you got to have at least six seats in between or 5.5 seats in between. So yeah, I'm losing 6 seats now, right? So we talked about what am I doing, right? So I was very transparent with what I controlled with my team. So I was very transparent that, look, this is what I control. I'm talking with our janitorial companies right now. We're working on getting these kinds of supplies. As soon as the government says open, we'll be ready to open. We had Regal Foundation and other industry foundations that were helping out other managers and staff that were furloughed and didn't have a paycheck coming in. So I sat in a committee of Regal Foundation where we gave money as requested by employees, by all staff. And we also joined up with industry organizations to do that. So I was in the committee that sat and heard these sad stories about what people were going through. And, the 4 or 5 of us would approve whatever dollars it was, whether it was for grocery, whether it was for rent. The request came in fast. We put up a portal. People could ask for help. 6 of us reviewed it weekly. We made a decision on a weekly basis, right? And at that time, Mookie was our CEO. Um, and, obviously we had at least 4 to 5 buildings that were under construction, right? So, uh, millions of dollars going into continuing that construction because nobody knew you'd be shut down for a year, right? Obviously, we stopped it after 3 or 4 months, knowing that, oh, this isn't happening anytime soon. And then, then even there was a time in there where my district managers, I had 20, at that time, I had 33 district managers and 5 regional directors and 560 general managers. So this is how deep our people worked for us. And I'll never forget it. I'll always show gratitude and always be burdened with what they did for us. Is we have, you can imagine with this many buildings, when you just talk about, and the utilities is just an example. When you just talk about utilities, and I'm just talking electric, gas, and water right now, just imagine thousands of accounts that we have. I had sectioned out every general manager with 20, 30, 40, 60 accounts. And there wasn't an automatic AI system doing this at that time. Physical people that are going through the wall for Regal at this time are making calls to these energy companies to hold payment for the next 3 to 6 months. You see what I'm saying? That's millions of dollars when you look at the buildings our size. That's just one example of one faction of how we were trying to stop the bleeding. Obviously, company execs above me were trying to make the right decision to strategize and where do we get money from and all that. But at the end of the day, the field was trying to stop the bleeding in every faction of our business to hold payments. I mean, I had vendors, and they still work with us. My cleaning company, that cleans our theaters throughout. At that point, saying, we trust you. We know you owe us money. We trust you. We know you'll open back up. And again, not going into details, but there was a lot of money that hadn't been paid out yet. But those people worked with us and worked through it because of the trust we've built with the vendors that we work with. Right? So everybody came together. I have to tell you, that was the most stressful time, but also a time where it built resilience. I can tell you, it made me a better leader because when we came out of COVID and we started cranking again, I'm like, okay, I can experience a lot of things, barring, nature, that kind of crisis. If we can go through that kind of crisis, we can go through any crisis. And sometimes I have to remind our people when we're doing P&L reviews and general managers get frustrated that, we had such a good quarter, but I need to fix this. And you said to hold back. I'm like, let's go back to when we had nothing. Let's go back to that mentality because we haven't still come out of it fully, right? As you know, you guys are aware, it was all over the media, 2 years even out of it. We didn't make it. We had to file bankruptcy and then we came out of a new company. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of Regal through the hard times and through great times, and now we're in good times again. And the future is very bright for our teams and our company. So it's build character, man.
So, on that note, how would you say your identity as a leader has evolved or changed, if it has, if at all? I mean, you've said become more resilient, but how did it ever affect your identity? How you saw yourself as a leader?
Yeah, it's not just identity. I think it changed some practices, right? It was always in me. Those 3 words when you talk about respect, empathy, and empowerment, it was always ingrained in me. It was the upbringing of my parents. But as you know, when people say that, hey, we should use more empathy, or we should have a safe place for people to speak up, or we should take the time to listen to people. Just look around you. I mean, go to a support office, and I'm sure you've seen it. And I just want to remind you, everybody's moving so fast, right? Even if they want to listen to a staff member and talk to them, their body language says they don't want to because they don't have time, right? You see people rushing from the elevator to a different office, but they speak loud and clear. They go out there and they're like, I'm all about my people, and I talk to my people, and we spend a lot of time together. No, you don't. The reality of our work environment has become people are going from meeting to Zoom, from office to office. How that's changed me, Amir, is I think about that daily. Not started, but since COVID, I have forced myself to make that time to speak to people and actually find out what do they want from their job? Where do they need help for development? You know, it's one thing to create an environment where everybody can have free food or snacks or large screen TVs down in the break room at their break time. All that means nothing. I learned it the hard way. All that means nothing if you're not speaking with people, and you're not just speaking. Your body language has to say you want to take the time. You need to take the time, right? I see it all the time. The best intentions fail because people are afraid to open up because they're always saying he must be busy or she must be busy, right? So I have really tried to step back last 2 years and say, I need to change my posture. So it's a practice that I've changed. I talk calmer, I walk calmer, I don't act like anything is a crisis. Not this, it doesn't make me laid back by any, right? But it does make me recognize that whatever your people are going to see out here or when you're out in the field, if you're always rushed, they're going to stop speaking to you. And I never want to be one of those, or he's too busy to talk to, right? But I'm sure I've been that way when things were great, when business is cranking. And I think COVID taught me so much from just talking to people and just listening to them. I mean, in Zoom, I'm listening to people, and sometimes they'd be in tears saying, I appreciate you putting us at ease that soon we're going to open. And these are the things we're doing with it. So it's changed my practice of thinking I need to perform. Look, I have a great team that performs, right? And they have a great team that performs. And what I'm asking my team to do is step back, spend more time with your people, find out what will help them succeed. Even take the time to be, show gratitude, right? Not just thank you and then run into an elevator. Show gratitude. Find out what they did, how they did it, and feedback. The young people in this industry or any industry, right, are so hungry for feedback. Not just positive feedback, but feedback that helps them improve. I'm not going to say negative feedback, feedback that helps them grow, feedback that helps them improve. And I don't think leaders take enough time anymore because they think everybody they've hired is the smartest person in the room, Ivy Leaguers. They should know technology's fast, AI is growing. I don't know, guys. I have seen much quieter people, although they were geniuses at their work, but they feel like they're not going anywhere because it's not being communicated. When I have a young project manager go in and take a lead in the meeting, I let them do it. But after that meeting, I always take 10 to 15 minutes. Like, you did fantastic at these things. Growth areas. This could have been done better. This could have been approached better. I even, and I even talk about their voice language. I'm like, don't let a title crack your voice.
Mm.
You're in there because you deserve to be in there. You're in there because you belong there. But it is my job to help them grow in that position, right? Um, I don't know if people are taking enough time these days to do that.
You know, Javed, I want to double down on what you just now said. You know, it is one thing to watch a leader, you know, the apparent side of things, how they behave, how they act. It's a completely different thing to hear a leader speak from the inside. And I think that is what you've just given us. If you've spoken from the inside to show us what true leadership means and look like. Here's 15 minutes. I'm going to give you this feedback. You did this great. Here's some growth opportunity, but framing it in a way where you were giving as opposed to just projecting that positional authority. And I love that the way you've described it is just so amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes we forget, you know, and I say this, and I truly mean it. I've always done it that way. Is in my business, right? We have a lot of teenagers, right, in the field, and then we have a lot of young people in the support office that are growing into positions. If I can, and when the 16, 17, 18-year-old person joins our establishment in the field, we have a responsibility, right? They're not just there for the paycheck. How you train, talk to, and influence a 17-year-old is going to build something for them for the rest of their lives, whether it's their character, whether it's their personality, even taking out their fear of apprehension of, hey, I'm in the work world now. Where am I going to end? You turn that apprehension to confidence, right? I'm not working with these people just to stay in the theater business. I want to have an impact on their personality, their work ethic, their confidence, where they can go out and do anything, any other business. And I don't care. You want to leave me and go somewhere else and be successful? I'm all for it. But if I've had a little bit of impact on your growth, your mind growth, your personality growth, your confidence, that is satisfaction. That is, to me, is I've done my job as a leader. And there are several examples of that where I think I was telling you the other day, I still go to some buildings and I haven't been in years and I haven't heard about this person moving through from, one level to a manager. And I run into, and this person says, hey, Mr. Khan, you probably don't recognize me, but you hired me as a 16-year-old. This theater you were a general manager at, and then now look, I'm a general manager of this building. So that to anybody should be a proud moment to say people still remember you because how you treated them, and you took the time to teach them.
Amazing. Leave the people better than you found them.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, it's fascinating to me that with the age of AI, people talk about, we don't need young people anymore. But here you are telling us that you need young people to groom into future leaders. How do you look at AI in your organization?
So I'm glad you brought that up. Look, we do a lot of things old fashioned way, right? We have outdated processes, training materials. To me, AI is, we're using it, we're building it, um, uh, on one side we have AI, and then the other side we have data analytics, and our digital and technology team is amazing, and they're working together, and it's a new team, right? Because we came out of bankruptcy 2 years ago. This is what all formed after that, and we're each faction, AI and technology, have taken a lot of steps forward. To me, operationally, I am excited for AI to do all the grunt work, right? People are still going to do work that matters, right? But grunt work, I want AI to do. I'll give you an example, right? I want for my theater manager to be in the middle of the lobby and say, hey, how do I make wicked cocktail? Boom. It comes up, shows you how to make it, you do it, right? Or I want a staff member to say, what is our policy on leave of absence? So in here, I have it. So you get my point. My point is, before they used to go to policy manual on computer, and then type in the buzzword and look for it. Now it's at their fingertips, right? So what used to take us, and there's cost implications as well of it, but that's not the main reason. The main reason is quick education, quick training, quick policies at your fingertips. So to me, that's the exciting part of AI. And then data is totally important for what we're doing or want to do as we move in the future, is make decisions based on what the data is saying, not what my preference is, right? My preference would be recliners, but let's say you're in a smaller community where people still enjoy that traditional theater. Now AI and data are able to tell me, you know what, this location needs this. This is the kind of clientele you're getting. One shoe doesn't fit all, right? So, no, I'm excited about it. I think it gives, there's a lot of grunt work. I mean, you can imagine a company this old is probably, I'm going to say, 10,000 different procedures and policies. I don't know how long it's been since it's been cleaned up, right? I don't know if every time I update a policy, if the old policy is vanished away or not, or is somebody still finding an old policy and in one theater out of the 400, they're working on that, working that way. And I'm walking out like, we stopped doing this 10 years ago, right? So that is the exciting part for me. I think with data and AI, we can teach our people more and faster. And once we do that, then it's the same, right? The bottom line is, then the faster my employees learn, the better service they can give to our guests, because that connection is not going away. If you don't have the connection with your staff and your employees, it's a failing business. Look, we've seen a lot of fast foods, and I'm not going to name anybody, but think about when you order fast food now. You don't see anyone. You go there, you pick up a bag. Nobody even turns around to say, "Hi, is there anything else I can add?" If you pick up fast food 10 times a year, right? Maybe twice you get that interaction. And that even interaction is in passing. Why? Because they're too busy just making the food. And they've been told all you do now is you make food and you keep the bags in front, people pick up and leave. That's not what we do. That's not what my business is.
That is amazing. Focus, sharp focus, no less, on customer service. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So you're a movie theater boss. Do you watch movies?
I do. I used to a lot because I used to take my son. We used to love watching movies. Now he's grown. He's gone to college. So this last 2 years have been slow. But yes, I've watched a lot of movies. And I, as a young kid, I watched a lot of Bollywood movies. But so obviously, I wanted to become a Bollywood actor. I didn't have a face for it, right? So I started running theaters instead.
What's the worst movie that Regal Cinema was showing that you were like, no, I don't want to, I don't want to say anything about that, but it was the worst movie ever.
Oh, there's actually quite a few, but there was one called Booty Tang or something.
Yeah, I know that one. I know
Yeah,
that one. Yeah.
that was I mean, one, not that it didn't even make money. It was like embarrassing to show it. But that was years ago.
So butter on your popcorn or no butter?
I am a hot dog guy.
Okay.
I pick popcorn pieces for my son's bag, but mostly I'm a hot dog guy.
What's the best business advice anyone gave you and who gave it?
That's very close to me. The best business advice that somebody gave me was my father, and he was a banker all his life, and he had 6 kids. Um, he went through from the bottom uh, up to what he was a regional level at banking. The best advice he gave me, and I think that's why I've been able to be in this career for a long time is he said, don't follow the money. Money will come. Stick with job an area of the business that you actually are passionate about and you enjoy. And I've been passionate about people and movie theaters for a very long time. And I could have just, and the reason I changed probably from retail is I didn't find my passion there. I did 2 years of retail with Levi's, fantastic company, but I didn't find my passion there. I found my passion in movie theaters. But you know how impatient 20, that was when I was, Jesus, 25, 28 years old. But how impatient we get for 5, 10 grand a year. I could have changed jobs and kept changing jobs, and I didn't. And I decided, regardless of whether I had to do 2 jobs just to afford it initially, and that's what I did. And that was the best advice he gave me because I can really say I've enjoyed everything I've done with.
I think that goes against the influencer culture, Renard, don't you think?
Think so. I think so. I would agree with that.
All right, so I'm going to ask you one more question. What is the one thing about running 400 plus movie theaters that nobody would ever guess?
Actually, I think people don't get the depth of how this business operates. So what they wouldn't get is the back end. It seems simple, showing a movie and coming and having a popcorn because people don't still relate us to restaurants and things like that, right? So I think they would be fascinated by how much work goes into the back end to make the day-to-day work that seems as simple as popcorn.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, this has been a really, really insightful conversation. What do you think, Renard?
I agree. I agree. I could talk about movies all day. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask you guys a quick question? Your favorite movie,
Yeah.
Robert?
Ooh, man, my favorite movie. Man, it's so many of them. Oh man, you put me on the spot here. My favorite movie. Amir, you got to go first. I got to think about it for a second.
All right.
Come back.
I know exactly what I'm gonna say. So my favorite movie of all time, my kids make a lot of fun about this, you know? It's a Wonderful Life, Jimmy Stewart.
Wow, I
So
could see that.
that is my all-time favorite. It gives me the warm fuzzies. It's a nice family story, and it
I
had a terrible start in the movie business, but now it's a classic, right? So,
Okay.
that's my all-time favorite.
Okay. I think I thought of mine finally, and something I can still watch to this day and never get tired of. If y'all remember the movie The Goonies,
yeah,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah.
I never get tired of watching The Goonies. Everybody who's in there is played in multiple movies, hundreds of movies. You still see a lot of them still play today, but The Goonies, I never get tired of, ever get tired of watching that movie.
Die Hard for me, and it's a Christmas movie.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
no
it's a Christmas movie, yes,
no
yeah,
argument about it.
it's a
Die Hard is
Christmas
a
movie.
Christmas movie.
Yeah, if anyone says anything different, they don't know what they're talking about.
Oh man, I still hear arguments about it.
Yeah, it's a Christmas.
I don't even listen to it. I'm like,
Yeah,
man, you know what? It's Christmas. It's
yeah,
okay.
one of the best Christmas movies of all
Exactly.
time.
yeah, 100%. I think we can all get behind that one. I love that movie too, and especially around Christmas. Now that it plays around Christmas
Yeah,
time, I get to enjoy it a lot more.
mm.
Well, Javed, thank you so much for making time today. I learned so much from your leadership style today. I learned that, hey, whether it's crisis or no crisis, you need to show up for everybody on your team and you need to connect with people at their level, meet them where they are, but make sure that you leave them better than you found them. And the other thing I learned from you is that, being in one industry is all about finding that love and passion. And with that comes the mastery. And you, sir, are definitely a master of your craft. And the last thing I'll say, at least from what I've learned, is that your identity is how you want to shape it, and the situations around you give you an opportunity to shape it in the way you think is best for everybody around you. And you've again given us many examples of that. What about you, Renard? Anything you want to add to that?
Man, all I can say is the love of movies that you have and the passion that you have for the business is something that I took away from this conversation. And that I'll be honest, you are a leader that I would work for any day. because you're passionate
Excellent.
about the people who work for you, and that's what matters at the end of the day. You want to see other people grow, and that's prime key part of a great leader, wanting to see other people grow. So definitely, if you got any openings,
Yeah,
you let me
anytime.
know.
I know where to find you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking of finding Javed, where can people find you?
People can find me anywhere, right? And I could be at any theater at any time. But um, obviously, I'm on LinkedIn. You need me, you can connect and send a message. I try to respond to everything I get. Overall, at least people try to ask questions on industry or things like that. Be the best.
That is wonderful. Well, we'll be sure to put your LinkedIn also on the post, in the post show notes. Also want to make sure that, those who are listening know that mentorship is a big part of growing up in your industry. And I think Javed is probably open to the idea of offering mentorship. So Javed, if it's okay, people should
Yeah,
reach out to you for mentorship.
absolutely.
Fantastic. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for listening to another episode of Black Belts and Boardrooms. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Amazon as well. Please, please, please leave us a review and let your friends know, because we want to make sure that other leaders hear the voices of leadership on this show. Until the next time, see you on the next one.